Hello gang, welcome back once again to the Long Dark. Today's subject is the weather in the Long Dark. Next to hostile wildlife, weather is probably the -- challenge you face in the Long Dark. It can be deadly, and it can also be just a challenge in and of itself because of the the way it changes the way the game is played as you are concerned, as far as the player is concerned. And as a new player, you may often struggle with the concept of the weather changes in the Long Dark and may not fully understand or appreciate or how to prepare for them. As always, I've been mentioning this for the past several videos. I believe the next couple of videos I release will really start to cinch up all of the information I've put out so far into one concise portion that will funnel all the knowledge you've gained in these videos forward and help propel you on your journey through success in the Long Dark. But we definitely have to cover weather first. So weather obviously is a challenge due to the fact that it presents an obstacle that must be either overcome or waited out. So for example, right now it's a nice, clear, happy morning for me as a player in the Long Dark, but that could change rapidly and for the worse. And so as a player, you need to be conscious of the fact that the weather can change. So for instance, it could become a blizzard, and that means it's going to be too cold outside for me to just be able to stay outside. I'll have to seek shelter or find a secluded corner to light a campfire or something. So the fact that the weather changes, and often changes for the worse, is something that needs to be kept on top of in the back of your mind as you go about your business through your run throughout the days, in your planning and how you go about things, so that you don't get caught off guard when a change does occur. Weather is the primary challenge in terms of just temperature alone. As you can see, it's only -5 degrees outside Fahrenheit. Thankfully, I've got some pretty warm clothes on, but the base temperature alone is a big enough threat and obstacle and challenge to the player that the added weather on top of that just compounds that effect to make it more difficult. The Long Dark, you are not set up to survive immediately upon starting. You've got to make your way, and weather tries to make your way impossible. So how does weather come about? Well, you've got your different types of weather. There's obviously nice clear days like this. You can have windy days, snowy days, foggy days, and days that have a blizzard. There's all these different types of weather that can occur in the Long Dark. The nice thing about weather in the Long Dark is you can actually begin to precipitate a change in the weather and anticipate it, because as you go about your business, as long as you keep your ears open and your eyes to the sky, there's a little handy thing known as weather crows, and I think mine have already flown overhead, but if not, hopefully we'll get a chance to show them, or I'll paste some footage in where they happen. Anyway, as you go about your business, anywhere between 3 to 5 crows will fly overhead of you at some given point during the day, and these are often referred to in the community as weather crows. Weather crows, the number of them doesn't matter, just the fact that they have flown overhead. Weather crows come about to signal a change in the weather, be it for good or for bad. So as you can see, it was a nice clear day. We heard the crows. I didn't see them in time, but we heard them as we walked past that field up there. And now you can see it's gone windy. So having those crows, you know within about 5 minutes time, the weather's going to change. And so you can plan a little bit based off of that. You can begin to think, where am I? What were my goals? What was I planning on accomplishing? And how is this going to affect that? Is it going to make it harder, easier, etc.? As long as you know that the weather can change and you can be prepared for the negative changes in weather and know how to handle the weather that does come up, you won't be so necessarily caught off guard or not necessarily have to change your plans completely. But it is something to be aware of, especially as weather is going to impact every aspect of your survivability, be it detecting hostile wildlife, exploring to find new gear and collect loot and food, or just enjoying your day and having a campfire to cook some food up. All in all, the weather changes will make that more difficult for you to accomplish, and so you'll need to be on top of that. So that's weather in the Long Dark. Each region also has a kind of set of rules as to what the weather does. So some regions are more predisposed to certain types of weather and patterns of weather than other regions. So as you play the game, you can kind of begin to get used to, as long as you play often enough to keep track of it in a singular region, you can kind of begin to get used to the weather patterns that occur, and you can begin to anticipate them before they even happen or before the crows even occur, and plan your schedule around it. It's not 100% accurate, but neither is the weatherman, so it is helpful. So that's something to be on top of. And another thing to take note of is that the weather changes that occur do so, or they change in relation to the difficulty mode you're playing at. So for example, on Pilgrim, you might only get 1 to 2 to 3, maybe at most, weather changes per day. Whereas in things like Stalker, or especially Interloper, the weather can change as many as 5 times to 7 times per day, which can make it rather difficult on the player if you're unprepared for those kind of quick, abrupt, and quite detrimental weather changes. So now that you know that, all the question comes down to, how is this going to impact me? You know, as I try to do in my survival series, I try to give a concept, and then whatever the problem from that concept is, and then a solution to that, or action to be taken that will lead you to a solution within that concept. And with the weather, there's not really a prime way of doing that, because it's so variable. It's something to be noted. It's something to be informed of, so that you're armed with that information and knowledge, and to know that the changes, they do exist and they do occur, and how to anticipate those changes. And the primary factors of that are the weather crows that fly overhead, the difficulty you're playing on, and the fact that each region sort of has its own little patterns that dictate what the weather can or can't be like. Like I said earlier, all of this is probably going to be getting summed up very succinctly in a very soon to come out future video. I would say probably, hopefully, if production cycle goes well, within the next week after this one drops. So if it's like 2 years from now, it's out. Just check the playlist. Anyway, I've been Lonelywolf. I hope this has helped you a little bit. All of this information is going to come together real soon into a couple sets of videos that you guys are going to see. And the teleportation is still real. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, I've been Lonelywolf. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe and stay warm out there.